So let's give it over to Thato.
Thank you very much. Round of applause for Terry, everybody. Yeah, Ryan, I'm ready. Let's go. All right, so don't be pushed around by the fears in your mind. Be led instead by the dreams in your heart. That was Roy T. Bennett that said that, and I love that quote because it's an actual affirmation. My friends call me a glitch in the matrix, but I prefer Thato Mabelane, and I'm born and raised in Tembisa in the east of Johannesburg. And when I was a little tiny munchkin, I was obsessed with flying. I just loved to fly. And I'd walk around the township just going, Superman! 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 This lady's looking at me like this. I didn't have this accent when I was 3, so it was Superman. Right? And by the time I was 7 years old, I built myself a glide, and I had been planning to jump off a very steep cliff. And my brother suggested I tested my flight by climbing on the roof of our house. And that day, I met gravity. And I also failed dismally in my test flight. Right? So I started inquiring about what does it take to be a pilot. And everybody told me, you've got to be good at maths. Right? Maths and I were very, very good. We hit it off. Grade 1, grade 2, everything was going well. Grade 3, smooth. It was love at first practice. But by grade 6, ladies and gentlemen, Matt was seeing other kids. Maths just showed me white flags. And I actually consulted Maths. I'm like, but Maths, I thought we were friends. And Maths was like, what is the square root of no? I was shattered. So I started succumbing to the opinions of others. People told me, if you want to be a pilot, you've got to be good at maths. So I started shrinking. And people were like, what? You're a girl from Tembisa. There's no way. Be realistic. You can't be a pilot. So I started shrinking into a box. And it was until I was 11 years old where I kicked out of the box because there was no ventilation. I had a problem I needed to fix, and I consulted my mom. And this is the first time she taught me about affirmations. So I had a problem of sucking my thumb. And I did not like this at all anymore. And my mom told me to tell myself that I did not suck my thumb. And I remember arguing with her, and I said, but I do. And she said, well, don't argue with me, just do what I say. And it worked. So I started applying these affirmations in every aspect of my life. And by the time I was 14 years old, that's me when I was 14 at East London Buffalo Regatta, I found myself in a school that offered rowing. So I found a new love. I said goodbye to maths, and I poured all my heart into rowing. And with these affirmations that I've applied in my life, I found myself rowing for the country. And representing my country in countries like Egypt, Portugal, France, England. And this is me at the 2004 World Student Games after winning a women's coxless 4, beating the Kiwis. So it's not just rugby. Even in rowing, we fight with the Kiwis. And then I started applying these affirmations, and I found myself in a multinational crew rowing across the Atlantic Ocean, becoming the first black person to do something like this. Not only was I part of the multinational crew, I was leading the expedition. And this is all from affirmations, just kicking that box when I was 11 that I'm grateful for, right? But life is not always as smooth. We were attacked by a great white shark during the voyage, but the affirmations helped us through, because I made a declaration before this voyage that we would be safe, and we were safe, right? And that at the top there, that's us at Barbados reaching our destination safe and sound after 5,800 kilometers. In 2020, however, I was diagnosed with breast cancer during lockdown. No visitors allowed, so I made my own guest. And it was the most difficult journey I've ever endured in my life, and this is after rowing across the ocean. And affirmations carried me throughout this journey. I remember telling myself that this is just temporary. The photograph that you're seeing now is of myself at Komiki Lighthouse, where I was saying goodbye to my natural boobs because the next day I was getting a bilateral mastectomy. And throughout this journey, my affirmations, because they was on autopilot, they were doing stuff for me. 3 months after my journey, I wrote a comedy special, titled it Third Generation Coconut, and premiered the accent. Premiered this special at the National Arts Festival last year with outstanding reviews. My special is currently touring the country, and that all started with an 11-year-old girl that just kicked the box, right? About affirmations. And I am so happy that I'm doing this. This is me when I was 2 years old. This is when the dream of flying started. And that's me at the Baxter Theatre in the middle, where I ran and produced a show. And in September of 2023, I entered an international regatta and came home with 3 medals, 2 gold and 1 silver. This is after 20 years of retirement from professional rowing. The human spirit is limitless. I have now started an organization where I want to help people to discover exactly that. And that's just my website, a screenshot of my website. And I'm happy to say that a couple of months back, I went back to the original dream, which is becoming a pilot. Ladies and gentlemen, if we could all do the things that we are capable of, we would simply astound ourselves. That was Thomas Edison that said that. Ladies and gents, my name is Thato Mabelane. The human spirit is limitless.
Let's give it up for Thato. Yo, well done, well done, well done.